Hey everyone. So today we're going to explore a few things that happened last week from the PGA Championship. Bryson struggled. Rory McIlroy had a really interesting conversation with a fan on national television. And Cam Smith might actually be back. After that, we'll be building our ideal golfer, deal or no deal style. We'll pick one player per category. This is going to be interesting. But before we get into our main event, don't forget to hit like and subscribe on your favorite platform.
So for our listeners, we're recording this on Saturday. So right now, the Byron Nelson is going on. And Roy, just real quickly, there are some huge scores right now. How do you feel about it when on moving day, the scores are almost hitting 20 under?
That's too much. That's too much. Like on the third on moving day, if you're already at 20 over, I think it means one of two things. Obviously, up until now, the setup has been too easy. So Sunday, they're probably going to try something ridiculous, right? Which is like, I don't know, something about seeing somebody cross the finish line and win with like a -1 on the last day. And a lot of people are in the pluses when the total composite score is around -20. Like that feels weird. At the same time, it's still fun to see really low scores. But once you get past the teens, for some reason, to me, it feels like the setup was just too easy. I don't know. What are you thinking?
I don't mind it occasionally, as long as it's not like one person running away with it, right? I do like once in a while, like I'll know like this is like arcade style tournament where everyone's just going wild. I mean, yesterday was Siwoo Kim almost shot a 59. He finished with 60 because he missed his putt on the 18, right? But right now, the leader is Scottie Scheffler and Wyndham Clark. And they are through 13 holes, 19 under. And right now, it's a little after 1 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon. So I feel like they're going to finish in the 20s. And yeah, like once in a while, I think it's fun. And especially when there's a lot of names that are in that range. Like I wouldn't want to see Scottie Scheffler running away with, something in the 20s while everyone else is struggling in their teens, right? But there's a lot of players that are just within like 3-4 strokes from the leader right now. So I think it can be interesting sometimes.
If you think about it mathematically, though, an average tour pro is what? Somewhere between like a +5 and a +10.
Yeah.
Let's call it just on average, right? So if they're finishing 24, 25 at the end of a 4-day tournament, they were playing 6, 7 under, right? So that course setup is just like, that's not a difficult course setup, right? You're basically playing like the slope rating. So anyway, that it'll be interesting to see where we end up tomorrow. All right. For today's main topic, YGT Golf, which has been getting a lot of hype over the last few weeks since the announcement, as well as they now have released their roster. It's interesting because this is one of those like PGA Tour has spent a lot of money and has been changing a lot. We've talked a lot about LIV and the $5 billion they poured in and what is their impact on golf. And, one of the things that we've always danced around in the peripheral is, well, what is happening with YouTube, right? And I think this is kind of the perfect example of how YouTube can potentially come in. Big emphasis on potentially, on top of what we saw with the Internet Invitational last year. So real quick, let's just level set for those of you who haven't heard about YGT. What is it? There are 16 creators. So you probably know a lot of these names already. There's 4 captains and they will play 4 stops. And there's a $1 million finale at Wynn Las Vegas. They haven't announced the exact formats, but there will be some scramble, maybe alternate shot, singles, and each round will be featured on a different creator's channel. The wildcard also is that they are saying a mystery player joins each team per event and nobody knows who it is until they show up. Right, so I think it's like whoever the captain could convince to come join their team.
Are we going to see Bryson on there?
I would not be surprised. Oh, and if this is the reason he made the PGA Tour agree that he can do more YouTube stuff, oh God, I would love it. I would not bet against it. Let me just say that. Okay, so YGT, already so much hype. You got like Grant Horvat as one of the captains amongst so many other popular names. So they already have a significant viewership potential. What's your read on it? Like, are you excited for this? Do you care?
I absolutely do care. I think it's very interesting because we talked about last week about ways that LIV could have really revolutionized the sport. And I think the YGT is kind of doing that. They are really looking at a different competitive format, but with personalities, with teams done right, I think, with storylines, drama, pacing. We'll get all into that in depth later on. I feel like there is a real chance for this to potentially be the future of golf, especially how the younger generation consumes golf.
I think we've talked about this when the Internet Invitational came out. At first, I was like, I don't really care. This is confusing. I don't know who half these people are. And the more I watched it, I was like, oh, this is interesting, right? And then there was obviously, Slopegate and all that other stuff, which while I still think they edited it for too much drama, it became more interesting as it went. This one to me is even more interesting because I think I know most of the names on the roster.
Yeah.
Anyone you're rooting for in particular?
I don't really have anyone I'm rooting for at the moment, but there really is a diverse group of guys. There's obviously the guys who, from an anchor standpoint, are very good, have credibility in their golf skill. Right? I mean, the Bryan brothers, Brad Dahlke. There's also Ryan Ruffles, who just won an event just a few weeks ago. So there is these competitively killers out there. And then there are also a bit of personality guys, like kind of like the glue guys, like the Roger Steeles, the Sam Heung-mins, the Taco Golfs. And I feel like it's such a great mixture in each team that I'm not rooting for anyone in particular, and that might actually be a good thing.
Yeah. That's going to set up a great storyline. But also the gap between some of the fun names that you mentioned, right? Like a Sam Heung-min or a Roger Steele or love him or hate him, Luke Kwan versus the Bryan brothers versus a Brad Dahlke. It's not that big of a gap. And so there's this story of like, whereas the Internet Invitational, they had to tier people, right? They had like pseudo flighting within their own tournament. This one is a lot more, let's call it fair, or at least the gap is a lot tighter. So, and you mentioned Ryan Ruffles. I mean, he's kind of choosing YouTube over the Korn Ferry grind, right? But at the same time, he might potentially have a lot more success here. So it seems like this might actually be a smarter financial decision for him, right? Like the opportunity to grow his media presence even more off of this and potentially turn this into, his own media conglomerate, so to speak. Although we did run the numbers and you have to do a lot on YouTube to break even here. Is this a legitimate path for golfers now from a financial standpoint? And if you were Ryan, would you choose YGT or the Korn Ferry?
I'm wondering if there is a legitimate path to the PGA Tour by playing in something like the YGT, because the PGA Tour today really wants visibility. And if there are tour card caliber players that are gaining visibility on their own, and when they come to the tour, they bring that audience with them, is there potentially a future where there is some sort of path, even if it's not a full tour card? If you have the ability to come to certain events as an exemption and score well, right? Is there some sort of path? I feel like there is going to be something there in the future. And in that case, I think it makes absolute sense for Ryan Ruffles to be gaining that visibility, gaining his audience through YouTube, and still occasionally playing on the Korn Ferry Tour.
Right. I mean, I don't remember the latest numbers, but I do remember that for Korn Ferry, a lot of the guys are like losing money because of the travel expenses and other fees and everything. It might, to your point, this might actually be very viable, right? If you have 1 million followers like Grant Horvat and you have the skills to actually compete on one of these tours, why not, right? Like, why not bring somebody like that in as an exemption or something along those lines?
Yeah. And it's very specific to Ryan Ruffles. Like, he actually has 20 PGA Tour starts. And I think he has like over 50 plus Korn Ferry Tour starts. So he has professional experience before, whereas there are others that are starting the other way, where they start in YouTube golf and maybe trying to, like for example, Luke Kwan is trying to, play for a while on the tour, but he was primarily known as a YouTuber, right? So Ryan Ruffles is an extreme case where it's the other side of the spectrum. But I mean, for Ryan, I think this makes absolute sense. And in terms of skill, I don't think he has, to be honest, a lot of competition. I think Brad Dahlke, Luke Kwan, when he's on it, are the only ones really with that professional pedigree on this tour. So he is elite of the elite.
You're not going to give Wesley Bryan a head nod there?
I probably should. He's actually a tour winner, but he's banned. So, but those four, right? They have actual PGA pedigree. So, if you could be one of the 4 top ranked players in a league, I would absolutely take that opportunity.
So on that note, is this a real league? Maybe it's a real league. Would you consider this somewhat tour adjacent, right? Talking about like maybe there's a funneling system, there's obviously a media and financial element that makes it so. Competitively, there's a handful, like you're saying. They're playing huge courses, right? So Purcell Farms, Teeth of the Dog, Wynn, but the format makes it YouTube still, right? So is this like legitimate golf, or is this just a very elaborate content series, which is great, right? And not to knock that, but does this cross the line into competitive golf for you?
It does not. This is formatted to optimize retention, not the purity of the sport, right? And so I feel they really looked at how can we maximize watch time and make sure that everyone cares about everyone in it. It's such a different lens that you're looking at it. And this is why they have a huge advantage. And this is what really LIV should have done, because the PGA Tour, especially with a live broadcast, you don't have that opportunity. You have to just show it for the purity of the sport and competition. You can't really fabricate drama. There's no editing, but these guys have the ability to do that. And so again, going back to LIV, like LIV had the opportunity to do some of this early on before they were in live broadcast, but they didn't take advantage of it because they, again, wanted to keep that purity in order to merge back with the PGA Tour. So yeah, going back to your question, there's still going to be competition. And I think the competition is going to be fierce. And they've structured it in a way where you're kind of easing it into getting to know everyone. There's team components early on, but at the end of it, the finale, it is still team, but it's a lot more 1v1, but it's not competition in the traditional sense.
Yeah, I love that point of like LIV could have done this, right? So they're really building off of LIV's $5 billion mistake. And they're doing it for a heck of a lot cheaper. But you're right. There's no governing body. There's no cut. There's no rankings, anything like that. But let's say outside of the final, right? So not win. Let's say by some miracle, you have 2 or 3 hours to go watch golf because you have nothing else going on in your life. Would you rather watch YGT or a PGA Tour?
Based on my expectation for what the YGT will be, I think I would probably watch YGT over the PGA Tour because they understand the modern sports fan. Modern sports fans don't have the attention or the ability to watch 6 hours straight and care about everything that happens. Most modern fans don't always necessarily even care about the leaderboard depth. They just care about, the names and the people on top. And I think there is an attachment to personalities. And I think YouTube Golf has proved that. So because of that, I think I would absolutely lean heavily, if I had to choose one or the other, is watching YGT. And YGT and a lot of YouTube Golf is produced in a way where it keeps the viewer engaged throughout, right? Through editing, right? Because they have that ability, which the PGA Tour does not have. So I think this is oddly a no-brainer for me that I would pick YGT. I mean, again, if it's the Masters, it's a different story, right? If it's a major, it's a different story. But if it's not a major, yeah, it's just the middle of May. There's the Byron Nelson going on. And even with everyone scoring 20 under, yeah, it might be the YGT that I lean towards. How about you?
Yeah, I think my mental model right now is the Internet Invitational. Right. So I'm going to say it's going to feel something along those lines, maybe a little less chaotic because I think these guys are going into it knowing a little bit more about the structure they want versus what's his face making up rules on the fly. But I think I'm YGT too. Like I'm strangely excited to watch Sam Heung-min and Taco Golf. Like I think they're hilarious. Right. And I haven't watched everybody on the list, but the people that I know on the list, I'm like, oh yeah, I would watch these guys. I didn't even know that Byron Nelson was going on until you mentioned it. Like I know there's a tournament going on right now, right? It's the middle of May. I didn't know which one it was, right? Because I'm just so unplugged from the PGA Tour at the moment. Yeah, give me 2 or 3 hours. Plus, I could watch it at like 1.25x speed. I'm going to watch the YGT.
One other format about the YGT that I think is kind of genius is actually the wildcard mechanic because it solves the same face fatigue from watching the same people over 3-4 different rounds. And I think especially if there is one team that is too strong early on, it removes some of that audience speculation like, oh, they're going to run away with it anyways. And so, yeah, I think it's kind of genius. There's going to have a lot of like viral moments, right? Even like the reveal itself is going to be, a viral moment. There can be potential Cinderella stories depending on who the wild card is. So, and it's not like it's set right now. There is going to be producing going on where if there is one team that is struggling, they're going to give the best wild card to that team, right?
Oh, 100%.
There's going to be some fabrication and producing going on behind the scenes, which is going to make things more interesting, which is also going to take away a little bit from the competitive side of things, especially when there are manipulation going on. But for content viewing, I think it's genius.
Yeah. That's a really good point that I hadn't thought about, because Korean culture actually has a lot of reality TV, right? Like I feel like 2/3 of it is reality TV actually, right? Versus
Reality
the dramas.
TV.
Yeah. But right, it's exactly that, reality, right? Because it's like a known thing that the producers are actually actively manipulating everything going on to make sure that they have a really good story, which is why it's so entertaining to watch. But Koreans are okay with it, right? There's some shows that I'm thinking of where like you'll actually see the producer come into the shot and like try to change something, right? So I'm okay with it. Yes, it takes a little bit away from the, what is the purity of the competition, but I wouldn't watch it for purity of the competition, like you said, right? This isn't going to be the best golf that you watch. This is going to be one of the most entertaining golf products that you watch. But it does bring up a good point in my mind, which is, we watch the tour for the purity of the sport, like you mentioned, right? The best players in the world at the moment playing the game in a way that most of us aspire to, but will never, right? And not like the average amateur is at the same level as like a Grant Horvat or a Brad Dahlke, but they're way closer to our range than we are to the tours. Part of me is like, well, the tours are so interesting because that's like the perfect way to play, and the amateurs chase the flash in the pan glory of they can emulate something that the tour professionals do. Versus this is like there's a relatability aspect. Does that feel right to you, or are you just like, no, I watch it for a completely different reason?
Well, I think the YGT is interesting because this is the elite of the elite YouTube content creators.
Yeah.
Like you're not going to see, Bob the Sports here. You're not even going to see, the Barstool guys here, right? This is basically the top tier skill wise of the YouTube golfers. So I think it's going to provide a slightly different angle because you are seeing the blend. This is the closest thing to the tour you're going to get on YouTube. Mm-hmm. And so I think you are going to see elite skills for YouTube, but while still having the editing, the manufactured drama, the personalities. This is why I think this might be, going back to our original topic, I think this might be a glimpse of what the future of golf looks like. It's going to be a blend of top tier skill with personality and drama. And that's really what also the PGA Tour is trying to strive for in the future.
Right.
So this isn't going to be just your normal YouTube content.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, to say it differently, the PGA Tour shows golf will never play on courses that will likely never play. We may never play the YouTube golf courses either, but it's a little bit more within reach, right? Because I've seen some of these guys shank a ball, and it's like, hey, yeah. I could do that too, right? So it makes it a little bit more relatable, and there's a good story, right? To your point, so it's like the relatability and the good story while still watching really good golf. Like to me, that's a great formula, right? Like I can't imagine this doing poorly.
Yeah, and I've said this repeatedly now, but they're really optimized for the audience and not for the tradition. Right. So instead of optimizing integrity, meritocracy, historical continuity, YGT is going to optimize pacing, right? We're not going to have a 6-hour video. They're going to optimize drama, personality. They're really going to try to create personalities and the conflicts that was at the Internet Invitational. I'm sure it's going to come up here, but while everyone playing great golf. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it. This is going to be a bit of a segue, but have you heard of the People's League?
No.
It is a golf league that's been around, I think already they have like 3 different rounds. So they all have a team format. Ja Rule has a team on there. And there's notable names like, we all know, Tisha Allen, right? I think she's the founder of the league.
Oh, okay. Yes. I have heard of this. Yes.
And Taco plays there. Sam Heung-min plays there. Short Game King, Bormeister, like very recognizable names still play there. But I tried watching a few of their rounds and it was unbearable. The reason is because I think they edited in a way. It's not the golf. The personalities are great, but they edited in a way where the pacing feels more like LIV than it does YouTube. I think they were going for a little bit of legitimacy in their pacing where they were trying to make it appear like it's a live broadcast, but you're able to watch, a 2.5-hour video on it. So I ended up just skipping around looking at how like the main guys were doing. And they didn't really do a great job, I think, of manufacturing the drama or the story around it. With YouTube golf, you don't have to jump from hole 1 to hole 2, back to hole 1, back to hole 2. Like you don't have to do that back and forth like it's a live broadcast. It's a lot of chaos, I think, for the way that the People's League has been edited. But I also wouldn't mind just following one group for like 3 holes, especially if there's like competition going on where you just show that back to back to back before jumping to another group, right? I really hope that they play around with editing styles and the pacing a little bit more than the People's League has done.
Yeah, it's making me feel like because all of these YouTube creators, they obviously have a really good eye for, shot framing and storytelling. Otherwise, they wouldn't be where they are. And they all have a producing style, if not producers, right? I know a lot of them actually work with a production team, like their own production team, to do a lot of the editing. So this is making me feel like the director and the producers are actually going to be more important than the golfers themselves. Because we know we'll get good golf, right? Or at least decent golf. We know the personalities are good, right? But they really got to nail the production. And I'm with you. I think part of what made the Internet Invitational, in hindsight, so interesting for me, their pacing, their editing style, it made you feel like you were there with them, right? Like you were just actively watching, like you had almost like a voyeuristic view into like this drama scene that's going on, not, to your point, watching just like a faster, more modern, edgier tour production. Like that would still fall flat. And probably closer to what LIV ended up doing and falling flat with it as well.
Yeah. A quick side note, Wyndham Clark and Siwoo Kim is now 20 under. and they just finished 14 and 15. So I think we're going to see a lot more numbers in the 20s by the end of this round.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. We're going to have to keep an eye on it. God, if somebody gets to like 22 under by the end of moving day, like that's ridiculous. I don't remember the last time I saw scores that low.
Yeah. I think YGT, I feel like everything is praises, but I have one more praise, which is we talked about how there's just too many anonymous names on the PGA Tour. And I think you and I talked about a few episodes ago about how it might suck for especially the players on the bottom of the depth chart that are kind of like in the middle class of the PGA Tour. But, we really want to see the elite players, right? And we want them showcased more. The PGA Tour events have 150 players, many who we don't know. It's difficult to follow that many narratives. Narrowing it down to 16 recognizable faces where we know some of their stories. We're going to learn about some of their stories. The team identities and the chemistry is going to come out and shine a lot more. I think the PGA Tour is definitely going to keep an eye on this and see, are there elements of this that we need to take and incorporate into the tour, especially if it's successful. How do you feel about that as our, once again, our traditionalist?
No, I like that. 16, obviously you can get to know all 16 very quickly. That's not hard to follow. And odds are you're going to go in knowing a few of them already if you watch YouTube golf. So at most you're learning 5, 6 other people. You'll get that 10, 15 minutes into the video. So immediately you have a sense of familiarity with everyone. I'm thinking about also kind of an analogy to this, which is the TGL, right? When they launched, they launched with, I don't think it was that many more people. I think it was 20, but their factor was that they had so many more teams, right? I mean, not that many more, but it was not like, hey, this is Grant's team and Wesley's team, and here's the 4 or 5 that some of which I already know. This was like, hey, here's LA Golf Club. And still to this day, I don't know who's on LA Golf Club, right? So the mental model that you had to draw to like get that sense of familiarity and recognition of who is and what is going on in the TGL, I think isn't there for the Your Golf League. So going back to your question, I love this, right? Because it's 4 teams that feels very like you can get a handle on that very quickly. You recognize the names. So immediately you start building an affinity. You start building more of a loyalty or you start picking your team like very fast, right? Versus spending a lot of time like, who is this? What is this? Who's on this team? Whatever. And we talked about this, I think, an episode or 2 ago too, right? Where there's like, it's very hard to build those meaningful, like emotional connections to random teams that form out of nowhere. I think this might be actually one of the better ways to do it. And then from here, if it gets bigger, you could add 2 or 3 more teams. And it's not that big of a deal because you have a base, right? Versus LIV, ask me today. I have no idea how many LIV teams there are. I have like 0 clue, right?
I don't either.
But this is the thing. It's like you can't just build loyalty and understand the competitive market, so to speak, like overnight, right? You have to build it up slowly. And I think they got a spot on doing it this way.
Yeah. Well, just for you, LAGC has Colin Morikawa, Justin Rose, Tommy Fleetwood, and Sahith Theegala.
I forgot about the last two.
It's one of the most stacked teams. But I think the thing with the TGL was that they expected you to know the stories of the golfers coming in because they are such prominent names. So they actually didn't spend that much time building up the players because they were household names to something for the most part, right? Yeah, with YouTube, we know some of the names, but I think they're probably going to do a much better job of introducing others and their personality, just their character to the audience. Now, I know we just talked so much praise and about the YGT. Are there any downsides to this or any sort of concerns that you have about the YGT?
I think if they go into one of the two extremes for me, then it could get not boring, but like stale very quickly. One is the golf is just good and they're playing, routine golf. Everybody's shooting relatively clustered scores or at least within a set range. Cool. No drama, no storyline, no edit, right? It's just like, great. It just becomes another competitive golf format. I think that's a pitfall that could happen. The other is if they digress into a worse version of what happened at the Internet Invitational, right? Where the drama and the story production is so overhyped, right? The Luke Kwan story, the Melosi Slopegate. And then, we talked about it a lot, like Paige manipulating the crap out of everything and crying. And I think if they focus too much on that, right? So the other side of that spectrum, then it becomes, again, interesting YouTube golf content, but it's not golf focused at, right? So there is a little bit of, it's maybe not threading the needle that they have to do, but there is a finer line of like personality feature, story manufacturing with good golf and not falling off on one of the edges.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the biggest challenges it's going to have is keeping it fun because YouTube golf is fun, but also keeping that competitive legitimacy clear, that they are here for a competition. They're not just here to goof around. And I think the money helps with that, right? When there's $1 million that they're playing for, I think that will inevitably help, but it's going to have to find that balance because if it becomes, like you said, too fun, then I think the competition is going to get hurt a little bit.
Yeah.
But if they're too serious and they try to become too much like the tour, then it's no longer YouTube golf. Yeah. And so, I think that is going to be a huge challenge, but I think the guys involved, have a lot of experience. So I hope that they will find that good balance out there. And the other thing I think just audience expectation is also going to be important. When you watch, again, these are the top tier, the elite in terms of YouTube golfers, but they're not PGA Tour players. Obviously there are a few guys that have played on the tour, but for the majority, they're not tour players. So I don't think that they should expect that caliber of play throughout. But I don't think the audience honestly is going to get to that. This is at the end of the day, YouTube golf.
Right. Do you know if they said they're going to allow spectators? I think it's no, but I don't remember hearing that specifically.
I don't recall that. I would think that for the finale that they might have spectators, but for the first, 2-3 rounds, I don't think that there would be spectators. It would make shooting and editing, I think, a little bit complex if there are spectators. Plus, it's not like the reason for having spectators is really to generate revenue. And I don't think that they're worried about generating revenue in that traditional format.
One other thought came to mind as you were talking about kind of the balance that they have to play. I was thinking back more to the Internet Invitational. A lot of the interesting storyline came from the people that were watching, right? So they were still a part of the Invitational, but they weren't actively the ones golfing. They were not on that hole, right? It was Peter Finch and, things going on with him and driving around, or Micah being like, hey, is your slope on, right? And there was like a small army of golf carts that were just following these guys everywhere and weaving in and out of the story themselves too, right? So I'm sure they can do something like that because there's going to be so many of them and maybe not all of them are going to be playing at the same time, even for like easier production value. But that's something, I think that they have to nail, right? Because it's not just, hey, let's form the story around the golf that's being played. It's like, hey, no, there's this larger, like if you were there, if you were one of the guys, you would be talking trash or doing, whatever and riling people up or in the background, having conversations. I think that really lends to the feeling of you being involved or being immersed, so to speak, in that experience.
Yeah. And, by the finale, 2 of the teams are going to be eliminated. So I'm sure that they're going to be around. Right. And, one of the things we talked about during the Internet Invitational is that we felt they could have helped by having some sort of broadcast team, right? Yeah. It did help, having those group and there was banter and them individually chatting. but having a little bit more structured, guided broadcast type of commentary we felt would help. And going back to People's League, I think that's what's missing because they're trying to follow the LIV broadcast style of a shotgun start. Actually, sorry, it's not a shotgun start, but they're trying to show everyone back and forth, but without the commentary. And without the commentary, you miss out on what's actually going on. Who are these people, right? And if they don't have that overhead with their name, like I don't recognize 2/3 of the people on People's League. No idea. It's not going to be as big of an issue with the YGT, but I still think in the finale, even if some of the guys that are not playing, especially the ones with personality, can lend itself that a little bit. Or, honestly, I would love to have, Bob from Bob the Sports just come and like commentate. Like he has such I think he's someone who understands the YouTube audience.
Right.
He has a very positive energy, but will also be very truthful and harsh at times. And so I feel like him paired with a couple other guys might actually make a pretty fun broadcast team.
Yeah. I love that idea. And not necessarily like behind a desk, right? And not an on-field interviewer either, right? Almost like the hosts of the golf tournament, but they're just like wandering around the tournament itself, where they're giving color commentary, they're making comments, they're one of the roles of broadcasters for live sports is like telling you the storyline, telling you why you should care, right? Like, and building up that hype. And so if there was a little bit of that woven in, I think that would do amazing as well. So YGL getting started soon. Excited to watch it. So we'll be on the lookout because I think we'll be back talking about it again here in a few weeks.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Off TRAQ podcast where we talk all things golf from an amateur point of view. I'm Charles, that's Roy. We're two golf-obsessed tech guys, and we are currently also working on our own golf startup. Make sure to click subscribe or follow on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts so you don't miss an episode. And also follow us on our socials at Track Golf on Instagram and TikTok.
All right. Well, going on to current events in golf. And we know we're a week behind, but there's so many things going on right now. One of the things that was interesting was Bryson's struggle, right? So he missed another cut at the PGA Championship. So this is his, I think, second missed cut at a major in a row.
And 3 out of the last 4.
Right. So not doing hot, right? He shot a 76-71, missed the cut by 3. And I didn't watch a lot, but the clips that I saw, like nothing seemed to be working for him, and with everything going on with LIV right now, like this is a little bit of like, Bryson, things are not looking great. Like you kind of have to get into a really good position and rhythm right now.
Bryson is not a field player. He is very mechanical, right? He has a system, it's optimization, mechanics. So when his wedge and short game is collapsing like it did in the last 2 majors, something is broken in his system. I feel like it's like real soul searching time for Bryson. I think he needs to move away from 1-length irons and wedges.
100%.
And there's been so many studies done that is what is hurting his short game. I think he needs to move away from that, go back to traditional length. This can't come at a worse time. He's going to be a free agent, and you want to showcase your best before that next contract. And he is right now playing pretty poorly, at least in the majors. On LIV, he is still playing pretty well, but I don't know. I think that really does show to just the difficulty of the majors versus LIV. We talked about it. A lot of people say that LIV it's resort golf, right? And so Bryson is playing really well in resort golf, but when it's, crunch time, whether it's the pressure, whether it's the conditions, whatever it is, something's not working.
Yeah. We might have to come back to talk about this at length too, but I'm wondering how much his 1-of-1 irons, the prototypes that he had made and he's playing with, how much impact that's having on him as well. But that's probably a much deeper analysis that we'll have to do, or see if he changes equipment here in short order.
Yeah. And the one thing because I am a fan of Bryson's, you forget how fragile his confidence is. And that's something that you absolutely can see immediately in body language. It's so wild that, 2 of my favorite golfers, well, at least for Rory, he's found a bit of that confidence after the Masters win last year. But yeah, before then, there was a lot of fragility in his confidence as well. But yeah, it's terrifying because for elite golfers, it's not like you can just turn something on, right? But maybe YouTube is the future for Bryson.
Speaking of the PGA Championship, Aaron Rai won the PGA Championship. And I don't know if it's just me, but nobody really seemed to care, ? He shot a final round 65. He won by 3. It was his first major. Again, everything was legitimate, like good player, good win. Everything was great. The most that I have heard about this is that the black 2 gloves are starting to sell out in some golf stores, right? So a lot of people are trying this 2 glove experiment, but they're not even attributing it to him. It's like they're just saying like, hey, this is a thing that's happening now.
Okay, like in all honesty, the reason why I know him is because he's sponsored by Me and My Golf. Like that was such a unique logo on someone's shirt. I was like, oh, is Me and My Golf starting to sponsor professional golfers now? So that's actually how I know Aaron Rai. But yeah, I think the problem isn't that Aaron won. I think the problem is that no one was prepared for him to win.
Yeah.
And that is a tour problem, right? Golf is so top heavy culturally. And I think this is exactly why like creator golf is exploding, because they need to make that connection with the players. And someone like Aaron hasn't really had the opportunity to build that connection with the fan base.
Yeah. And then during the tournament, God, there was so much happening at this tournament.
I know.
I wish I had watched more of it. Rory had an interesting conversation with a fan, namely somebody shouted USA from the gallery. And I guess Rory was just fed up because there seemed to be a decent amount of heckling, as Rory will always get. So he snapped. And he told the fan, shut the F up. And I think it was caught on live television, and he had him removed. Rory still had a good showing, right? He finished tied for 7th. And I guess it was going on for a while because he said in one of the press conferences that, you know, this isn't usually what you see, maybe only in the Ryder Cup. Apparently not anymore. Rory is kind of subject to this everywhere he goes. As a Rory fan, how do you feel about his behavior or the fans' behavior?
I am going to defend Rory's behavior. He had absolute right to say that. And it also didn't come at a bad time. I think, you know, he had just like duffed one into the bunker on what was supposed to be a relatively easy shot for a pro. And so I think there was a lot of just frustration, and he just decided, hey, I'm gonna let it all out. Now in golf, we talked about this so many times, but the fan culture is changing. And remember in the past, I said, I'm not necessarily against it, because this is fan culture in all other major sports. And so oddly, I am not against the fan yelling USA. Honestly, it wasn't even that bad. I heard there were other stuff that was much worse, but I also feel like Rory's reaction is completely fine. Even in the NBA, if someone says something annoying, like they can get fans, you know, tossed. And so, yeah, I think that's absolutely fine. I'm curious though, if the tour is going to limit or at least set some sort of guidelines on what fans can and can't do, because I am all for fan engagement, even if it's negative, but they have to know when to shut up.
Yeah.
Right. And I think they're getting a little bit better. Like I haven't heard anyone, you know, yelling stuff out while Rory's like mid swing or, you know, he's over the ball or things like that. But I do wonder if the PGA is going to take a few more steps to set guidelines on what fan behavior is acceptable and what isn't.
Yeah. And then our last story, Cam Smith, who we've talked about on and off here on the Off TRAQ podcast, had back-to-back 68s over the weekend at the PGA Championship. His best major finish since 2022. And we've talked about it a few times. You know, he had so much promise. He looked like he was doing so well. And then he missed a bunch of cuts in majors, switched to Claude Harmon III. Mm-hmm. So in the Harmon lineage, right? Like I loved that Harmon lineage there a couple weeks ago. And then he now bumped up to tied 7th as well. Is this a resurgence or is it just a flash in the pan one good week?
So I, you know, love Cam Smith because of his elite putting. And that's why I think that always keeps him in majors before his jump to the LIV. The biggest sign to me wasn't the score. It was his body language. When he was on LIV, there was this disengaged, like flat and like disconnected body language where he didn't really care. But I felt like last week there was a little bit more energy, a little bit more of that swagger. And, you know, maybe the coaching change is very different because Cam's game, he's someone who to me feels like approaches the game in a little bit more artistic way than a Bryson who takes it very mechanically, right? And I feel like for artistic golfers, there is feel and timing involved. And if you have that, that builds confidence. So I feel with Claude Harmon III providing a bit more of that clarity and structure, maybe that is helping Cam refocus a little bit.
I mean, it was an action-packed major. So hopefully it will continue this year. We've got some really good storylines so far, and heading into the US Open next. Sorry. For a second, I was like, wait, what day is it? What major are we on? But yeah, we have the US Open next, and that'll be really fun to watch as well.
All right. Well, as always, today's episode is brought to you by TRAQ Golf, the training system designed to help you practice like the pros. The TRAQ spray shows you exact strike patterns on turf or grass, and it allows you to also do drills that you just wouldn't do with alignment sticks. And the blueprint helps you build structure into every session. Together, they take the guesswork out of practice so you can actually improve faster. Find out more at traqgolf.com. That's TRAQ golf.com. Okay, for this last segment, we're going to do something a little fun. Roy, do you remember the game Deal or No Deal?
Is that the one where they had like a bunch of suitcases and they would open them one by one?
Yeah. So I think they had like 30 or 35 suitcases. And every time you open one, there's a dollar amount on there. And then there's a banker that will be like, hey, I'm going to offer you this to end the game now. We're going to change the structure a little bit, but we're going to keep that briefcase format going. So what our social media intern did was he created 5 segments. So it's your driver, your irons, short game, putting, and their mental game. And he has 6 briefcases for us. And so, yeah, we're gonna take turns opening up a briefcase. If you like what's on the briefcase, you can stop. But if you are not happy with the briefcase, you can open another one when it comes back to your turn. So we're gonna alternate. And I'm told they're not all great. So, you might be taking a risk trying to open up more and you're stuck with, a horrible part of someone's game.
Okay.
So whoever decides to go first on driver, we'll alternate. So at every category, someone else will go. But you want to go first on driver or you want to go first? Okay. So there are 6 briefcases and yeah, let me know which one you want to open. 1 through 6.
I'll open number 4.
Okay. Number 4 it's Bubba Watson's driver.
Oh, wait, so I hold on to him for now or I have to lock in if I want to keep him?
You have to either lock in or you have to dump the briefcase.
I'm going to dump the briefcase.
Okay. I think there's going to be a better choice out there.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I think I will I'm going to go with number 1. And number 1 is Bryson DeChambeau. So, man, is this Bryson DeChambeau right now or... because with Bryson, he has the distance. Driving is probably the best part of his game. I think I'm going to have to lock this down. Okay. I think I'm going to have to go with Bryson's driver. So I'm done for this round.
Okay. Give me suitcase 3.
Suitcase 3 is Colin Morikawa.
No,
so
dump.
he's a fairway finder. He's just going to be 40 yards shorter.
But this is why I hesitated on Bubba, right? Like for my driver, I want somebody that hits it far. Like if I'm going to pick an ideal person, like you got to hit your driver.
Okay. Got it. So you're closing number 3. So you have 2, 5, and 6 left.
Let's go for 6.
6 is Louis Oosthuizen.
No. 2.
Oh, 2 is Cameron Champ.
Okay.
So another heavy hitter on the PGA Tour.
Yeah, I'll take Cam Champ. That's a solid pick for driver.
All right, Cameron Champ. Let's see what the last briefcase would have been. Briefcase number 5. Oh, Tony Finau.
Cam Champ, Tony Finau won. 6 half a dozen.
Yeah.
I'm happy with my choice then.
Nice. Okay, well, I get to go first for irons. I am going to open briefcase 6. And the name that comes up is Ricky Fowler. I'm going to have to skip him. Did you know that Ricky Fowler, because Ricky at one point was really well known for his irons, but I just found this out recently. Did you know that right now, strokes gained on approach, he's at the bottom of the list. He's like one of the worst golfers on the tour right now. So yeah, I'm sorry, Ricky. I'm going to have to close your briefcase.
I'm going to go with number 1 then.
Number 1, Scotty Scheffler.
Oh yeah, lock him in.
Are you sure?
Absolutely.
Are you sure?
I mean, if world number 1 comes up, you don't skip out on world number 1 for anything.
All right. Well, let's see. I'm going to open up briefcase number, let's just go in reverse order. Number 5, which is Kevin Kisner. Kevin Kisner. Did you know he's recently on Barstool now? And he's been part of the podcast. He brings a very interesting perspective.
Yes.
And I've been finding him pretty entertaining.
He is
on the podcast, but I don't want his iron game. So I'm gonna roll the dice, keep going. Let's go with 2 this time. The other part of the list. Oh, Max Homa, a bit streaky with his irons, right? I actually don't know Max Homa's irons game too well. It's a bit streaky.
he can be streaky. I think he's been playing better recently. He had a little bit more of a, not a journeyman story around him, but there was always like not quite up to his potential story. But I think he's been playing okay.
Okay. I will skip Max Homa. So I have briefcase 3 and 4 left. I'm going to go with 3. 3 is actually my favorite number. And 3 is Justin Rose. Justin Rose. I think he's the best option so far.
Is this pre-McLaren clubs or post-McLaren clubs?
Let's just roll back a few weeks and say this is Masters Justin Rose.
Yeah.
Okay, there's one briefcase left. For entertainment purposes, I am going to close this briefcase.
Oh, you're skipping Justin Rose. Okay.
I'm going to open up the 4th briefcase, and I am rewarded with prime Tiger Woods.
No.
Yes.
It says prime Tiger?
It says Tiger Woods in parentheses prime.
Wow. God, that's not even fair.
Well, I guess I'm stuck with Tiger Woods in its prime.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay, short game. Back to you, Roy.
Let's start with number 2.
Number 2 is prime Phil Mickelson.
He was so good.
He was so good.
Much. I hate him so much, but he was so good.
I know.
Yeah, you got to lock him in. I mean, prime Phil, his wedge game was ridiculous.
Although I could never do his hinge and hold style of chipping. I can never do it.
I've tried it. Sometimes it works for me, but that's more a factor of me than the style.
Okay, I am going to open up my favorite number 3, and that is, I don't even know what his short game is like. Number 3 is Mr. Kevin Na, who was relegated from his own team from the LIV Tour. I mean, he's a Korean golfer. I love seeing some of his walk-ins. There's that like viral one where he does it and then Tiger goes back and like imitates him. There's also, what did he shoot? There's a hole where he shot a 15 or something like that.
Yeah. He was just in the woods for like half of the broadcast.
Yeah. And he also, I think, was one of the first tour players to play game improvement irons, right?
He was one of the early ones.
Yeah.
It's funny when I think of Kevin Na, I remember like he was one of the ones that was criticized so often for how long it would take him to fire.
Yeah.
When being on top of the ball, right? He would just like waggle, like just constantly waggling. Like that's still, I don't think he's that anymore. So he's dropped it, but I just remembered that about him so vividly.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to have to say no, Kevin. All right. I'm going to open up. Let's go back to 1. Let's see who's number 1. Number 1 is, Dustin Johnson. Dustin Johnson, not the most well known for his short game.
Wouldn't be my first pick.
Yeah, definitely not. I definitely think there's going to be a lot of bad choices out there because I'm down to 4, 5, and 6. Yeah. As long as I don't pick the worst out of there, I think I'll be fine. I'm gonna go with 4. And 4 is I'm gonna have to take him. It's your favorite golfer, Patrick Reed.
Oh God.
Patrick, his short game is magical at times. And so I think I'm going to have to take Patrick Reed. Also, partially just to annoy you.
Yeah. Okay. As much as I don't like Phil, Patrick is so much worse. So it makes me more comfortable with my pick of prime Phil.
Let's see who was 5. 5 is, I should have saved for him. 5 is prime Jordan Spieth.
Oh,
he was probably the best in the list. Well, between him and Phil.
It's him or Phil. Yeah.
Yeah. And number 6 was John Daly. How is John Daly's short game? I don't remember what John Daly's short game is like.
I don't remember at all.
All right. For putting, I go first. Man, I feel like number 1 was really good for the first 2. It wasn't very good for the last one. I'm going to just start with number 1 again. And number 1 is Steve Stricker. I have no idea how Steve Stricker's putting game is. Do you know?
In his prime, I remember his short game and putting being good. Not like he's one of the best, but solid.
I know Steve Stricker has like his like putting series on YouTube, but I don't know what his putting game is like. So I'm gonna close this for now.
Okay. See, that was number 1.
That was number 1.
Let's go opposite. Let's go number 6.
Okay, number 6 is Luke Donald, captain of the European team.
Yeah, I just looked it up. Sorry,
former world number 1.
I looked up Steve Stricker because you've already passed on him.
Yeah.
Steve Stricker is widely considered one of the greatest putters in golf history.
Oh my goodness.
So we were both wrong. During his career, he was virtually unmatched on the greens, that to the point that even Tiger asked him for putting tips.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I was gonna say, I remember seeing like an article or a YouTube video on something about how Steve Stricker was giving Tiger Woods putting advice, but I wasn't sure if that was one of those things where, someone says it and everyone's like annoyed that.
Yeah. God,
Oh my gosh.
I don't remember him being that good. Like I said, like good, but like to me, he didn't stick out in my mind. But
he's before my time. So
yeah, but getting back to Luke Donald, I mean, he former world number one, but I feel like Luke Donald got to number one because his irons and short game were good. But to get to world number one, you have to be good at everything. I'm gonna take him.
I would think so. Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna take him.
Okay. All right. Now I am down to 2 through 4. I'm going to open up 4. Patrick Cantlay. No. Patrick Cantlay has one of... I think his putting is really bad right now, right?
That sounds right.
Yeah. I am going to just open up 4, which is Adam Scott. Adam Scott doesn't have a great putting stroke. I remember Adam Scott struggling with his putting so much, which is why he's the first one to use the Lab 2.1. And everyone was making fun of him so much because he was struggling, right?
That's right. And he was one of the first ones to go to, I think before all of the changes, I think he was using the broomstick when you could anchor it or the long one, because that's right. I remember him trying to find his putting because he was struggling with it so much.
Yeah. Man, I feel like I'm going to have to close Adam Scott. I feel like they were 2 of the bad options on the list.
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna go with, let's just go with number 3. Number 3 is your counterpart, Keegan Bradley. Keegan Bradley had some really good putting showings last season, but I don't know how it is generally. Do you know?
I don't think he's always been a good putter. I think recently he's been a better putter. I say like recently he's kind of like in and out of the spotlight, right? Like he has moments that he does really well, but he's not like consistently up there the way that he was, I think, when he first came out on the tour. I would call him probably, from my understanding, like middle of the pack.
Okay. All right. Let's again take that gamble and see who number 2 is. Because I feel like they've been all kind of bad options so far.
Except
number
for Steve Stricker.
My number 1 choice. Oh man, I'm gonna get so much hate comments on YouTube because I didn't know. I only started golfing 10 years ago. So number 2, who I'm stuck with is Ernie Els. Isn't Ernie Els also a streaky putter?
I think he was very streaky.
Yeah, I remember him being streaky in like his prime, in his tour.
Yeah, I think he was like very yippy too. Like he got the yips a few times with his putting.
Well, that's who I am stuck with is Ernie Els' putting. All right, so last one. This is the mental side. We both had each one that we started with. So should we figure out a way for one of us to go first? That's fair, or do you want to just should I just let you go first because I have prime Tiger Woods? Yeah,
you have prime Tiger Woods. Like at the end of the day, you have prime Tiger Woods for irons. Like,
yeah,
how many other people are going to be up there?
Okay, you can go first.
All right, we'll go with number 2.
Number 2 is Tiger Woods.
No. Yeah. You never pass up on Tiger Woods.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. You landed on Tiger Woods.
For mental.
Yeah. For mental. Yeah. You gotta stick with Tiger. All right. One's been good. Other than the short game, one's been good. So I'll go with number 1, which is Greg Norman. I'm going to have to skip on that.
Yeah. When I think of Greg Norman, and again, he was playing like before we were like maybe not even born or like babies when Greg Norman was in his prime. But what I know of Greg Norman is that he just collapsed and didn't win. Like that's my knowledge of Greg Norman.
Yeah. I feel like I saw Greg Norman, because his look was so iconic, right? Because it just stood out. I feel like I saw him in like my childhood. Like I remember the hat, right? And I think back then even he had the shark logo. And so I think I was like, oh, like it's a shark. Like the logo was cool to me as a kid. But I remember him, not closing out. And so we'll skip Greg Norman and let's just go to the other end. Let's go to number 6, which is Rory McIlroy.
I mean, you were just praising.
He is playing a lot better and his mental game has gotten a lot better since last year. But I'm going to have to roll the dice and see if there's anyone else on this list.
I never thought I would see the day where you passed on Rory McIlroy for anything.
I would have taken him, honestly, for driver. Well, I did skip him as well for something else. No, I didn't.
No. I think this is the first time he's come up.
Yeah, I think the only thing that I would have taken him for his driver. And I think I would have even taken I wouldn't have taken him over Patrick Reed for the short game. But yes, sorry, Rory. I feel like 4s have been good. Let's go with 4. 4 is post-prime Jordan Spieth. Oh man, sorry, Jordan. Although he had a pretty good showing, right? Last week.
I feel like he's starting to make a resurgence.
Yeah.
It's still too early to tell, but it feels like he's gotten a little bit more consistent. But the fact that as soon as we said post-prime and he's not quite there yet, and we've started laughing, I think says everything that we need to know.
The thing about Jordan is, and you might call me crazy, but I think he has one more major in him. I think he's going to just show up one weekend and suddenly play just lights out over 4 days and win another major. I might be on the minority in that, but I for some reason, I feel like you see glimpses of his greatness. Even because I've been watching it mostly in highlights, but then you see the glimpse of greatness and then you see him duck hooking a drive and he ends up under a tree that he has to somehow miraculously get back on the fairway and then he saves it for par. And so I feel like that's his game. Like he's constantly saving himself from these huge mistakes, but still finishing with a par, maybe a bogey here and there. So I still think there's one left in him, but sorry, Jordan, I'm going to have to pass you for the mental. And I'll go with 5, which is the betting paid off. It's Jack Nicklaus and his mental game. So I think I'm going to have to stop there. Let's see who 3. 3's not bad either. 3 was Brooks Koepka. And I would take Brooks's mental game. I think he's one of those guys that doesn't get intimidated. His game might struggle at times, but I don't ever wonder, is his mental game not on point? So I think I would have taken either or, but obviously Jack is a much better choice. So at the end of this game, Roy, you have Cameron Champ's driving, Scotty Scheffler's irons, which are, amazing, Prime Phil's short game, Luke Donald's putting, and Tiger's mental game. That's a pretty good.
That. I mean, the only one out of that, everybody on that list, I think, is elite in the category that I picked them in. Yeah. The only one that is maybe not like go down in history elite is Cam Champ.
Yeah.
Right. Cameron Champ is very good. He may not go down in history as one of the best drivers of the game ever, but I would take him any day of the week.
I mean, he's always top 5 in distance. Mm-hmm. I think it's just the accuracy that's not there. For me, as a recap, my driver is Bryson. My irons is prime Tiger Woods. Short game is Patrick Reed, Captain America. Putting is Ernie Els, and the mental game is Jack Nicklaus. So there's a lot of rivalries in our selections. I feel like even driver, when people talk about longest hitters, Cameron Champ's name is there. Bryson is always on that list.
That's right.
When you think of the best iron players in history, I think Scotty is starting to get in that list, even though his career's not over yet. And obviously Tiger is, I think, near the top of that list. Short game, I think you have one of the GOAT statuses in Prime Phil, but Patrick Reed is, I think, in a elite category. He's not going to be GOAT, but he's elite. It's so funny how putting is the one area that I didn't know. And I had the best putter as my choice and I skipped him.
Yeah. But there's also that historically, I feel like a lot of these players that we've been talking about, like Ernie, for example, or Steve Stricker, a lot of their career was before strokes gained, right? So I would say the older guys, we get a pass. We just didn't know.
Yeah. And then obviously mental game. I think we have the 2 GOAT answers, which was Tiger Woods and Jack Nicklaus. If our 2 athletes win head to head, who do you think wins?
Me.
What do you think would be the one area where you would say that your golfer wins?
Putting. Because let's think about this, right? Bryson versus Cameron Champ. I would give Bryson a slight edge. Irons, Scotty versus Prime Tiger. I give Tiger the edge, maybe more than slight, just because it's Tiger. Short game, Prime Phil versus Patrick. I give Phil the edge. Putting, Luke Donald versus Ernie Els. I think Luke, being one of the greats, gets the edge there. And then mental's a wash, right? Like Jack versus Tiger. So I think the biggest gap that you see there is Luke Donald to Ernie Els. And so that's where I think I capitalize.
Okay. Would you like to hear what ChatGPT has to say about whose golfer won?
ChatGPT likes to hallucinate a lot. What did Chat say?
Okay. So Chat said that Roy's golfer is probably the more stable, more complete, harder to beat weekly. Charles's golfer has a higher ceiling, more intimidation and more explosiveness. Let's see. Yeah, he said that the controversial pick is Ernie Els. ChatGPT says this is where Roy can attack. He'll probably say, why did you pick Ernie Els' putting? However, Chat says the counter is that Ernie had incredible tempo and he actually had clutch major putting moments and that he was generally smooth under pressure.
No, he wasn't. He had the yips.
But he did say there were instances of yips. But statistically, he said this is the weakest slot in the entire build, which is why Roy's golfer probably wins. It says Roy's golfer probably always shoots 68 to 70. Charles's golfer could shoot 62 or 78. Yeah, well, this is great for our audience. Tell us, whose golfer is going to win in the comments. We'd love to know.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sticking around, everybody. That's it for this week. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow on your favorite podcast platform. And check out our Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube @TrackGolf. That's enough getting off track. May your mulligans be many and your 3 putts be few.